Okay, so I guess I'll try to mention something here. Is that this is very straight, and this is all of a sudden an angle. So that doesn't make sense to me. Like if you were gonna make an angle here, you should probably make this more curved, like so that way the angles in between them aren't so drastic. So that way, like this is more of a this angle, and that angle is kind of more continuous at least, which is what it looks. Well, it just does. The angle here just doesn't work with this well. It's probably because of the emphasized note here. Like this is the stronger note. So this should have the bigger angle difference, and this should be more. Oops, forgot to do selection center. And this should be straighter, or at least in my opinion. It really doesn't matter, I guess. The right person. Okay, this is getting a little too note. It needs to be a little bit denser in the note. It has to have higher note density. Like, I'm okay with you going with the singer, but this should probably use sliders to fill in at least some of it. I'm questioning whether it should be a 1/2 or a 1/1 slider. Yeah, it should probably be 1/1s. So that way you basically are keeping your rhythm. It's just you get to fill in a little bit more. By that I mean. Because the 1/1 sliders still get to. You're still taking this long pause by not clicking anything. So you still convey this long note that the singer is doing. And if you do this long slider, then you might have to put a clickable note here. So this might have to be something like this. You might have a note here to pick up this like little bam bam. So this would help fill in that rhythm a little bit. See, this gets so quiet that it's a lot nicer as just circles here. There's nothing to fill in because the music is actually getting very less intense, which makes these parts a good part to not include a slider. So I commend you on doing this, but I think you should fill in this to create better contrast with an even more restful section of the song like this. Okay, so I get to talk about visual spacing here. Yay! If you look at, first off, these should be all copy-paste of each other. They look like they are, but I'm not sure that they're. Second is that if you look at the space in between these two objects, it's very small. But if you look over here, it's still small, but it's a little bit bigger than this, and that shouldn't happen. You want to have, like, structure elements, you want to have these be the same type of thing, have the same type of spacing. So what you should do is do something like this. So now these are all spaced out evenly, and it looks a little bit nicer. Like it's more consistent in the way it is. That's better structure. Oops. You did a little bit better job here, but I think it still could be improved a little bit. And if you whatever spacing you use here, you should probably also use here. I mean, if you wanted to, so let's say you took this, right? Alright, one option is just to copy paste over this. Alright, so that's an option you could do, and now this spacing is kind of like uniform throughout the map, which looks a little bit nicer. You want to have like if this is the standard you're using for this section, you should probably use it over here as well. But one thing you could do is that if you want to break the standard, let's say you want to like small, big, you could probably do something like increase it by a lot. Like once you get the idea across, and then of course these would have to go down to keeping again the selection center will keep the head at the same spot. So this would if you wanted to, like if you're not going to use anything close to this level, if you're going to use a farther spacing, it's okay, as long as it's still evenly spaced. Although I don't think that the music calls for this, I'm just showing that as an example. Okay. Okay. So I could talk about more structure here like I did before. I could talk about, that's probably fine. Again, maybe like a trapezoid type of thing between here, potentially. And I could talk about blankets more and more structure, but I think I'd like to try to let you look at that and see for yourself where you can make your own structural improvements. Because you can, if once you get the hang of, oh, this is how the structure works, this is the way I'd like to organize the pattern a little better, it'll help you out a lot more. So take a look at that section again. I don't know if this was me being weird about it or something, but this should not be important enough. Like if you want to pause, like this might be an instance where you take a circle, because there's nothing going on. There's nothing as big going on here, and there is something big going on here. So when you have a strong note that's like very strong relative to what's coming after it, and then it takes a pause, like that's a much better case to make this a circle as opposed to a slider, because people are expecting this to be strong, and then they expect a rest after it. And so the 1-1 pause might be a good anti-jump spot. Bum 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 bum. One thing to point out is that if your patterns ever look odd, and you don't know why, it could be because your sliders are too curved. This might be a little too curved. It could be a little bit better if you keep it this normal kind of way, so that this part doesn't intersect with that part. It's a little bit more fluid. Like so maybe just a copy paste of this. So instead of using this really bulky slider, you could use this slider. Just find a way to actually use your symmetry type thing. Do that. And then you could blanket there, and that might look a little bit better. You would have a line, like some kind of slider over here that you would find and rotate. I was like, oh, well, I rotate this 30 degrees, and it turns out 20 degrees, and it turns out like that's the axis of symmetry you should use. And yeah, so whatever, you get the idea. Although this pattern might not work because of spacing, this would kind of like make it so that your spacing is even throughout the whole entire thing. That might not be expressive of what's going on here. Just an idea. In case, it did work out for you, but whatever. And then maybe you could find a way to, like, if you switch these up, right, so it goes, that might incorporate the spacing change you need. So I don't know, but there are structural aspects you could do here. By using blankets, by using triangles, by using symmetry, by using this kind of trapezoid type thing, that would really make the patterns look a little nicer. And there's a lot of times where you have good ideas about where the cursor movement should be, and I don't want to take that away. I just think that sometimes design-wise, you can improve things by using those elements. And again, this might be a case where curve it less and it'll be better. An argument can be made to make the sliders here. I would probably prefer it, but if you really insistent about the circles, I could see circles only working here. But one option would be to do something like this.